My name's Adam Cox, and I'm a phobia expert based in London in the UK. And I'm also known as the Phobia Guru based on my track record of being able to help people eliminate their phobias in just a single session. Now, hemophobia is the fear of blood and is actually one of the most popular medical or medical related phobias. The fear of blood really comes from the look of blood. Essentially, seeping blood, moving blood, or the quantities of blood tend to be a trigger for those people that have a fear of blood. This is normally created either by a sensitizing event in childhood where perhaps a child maybe fell over or cut themselves, and then the sight of blood caused an extreme anxiety reaction, and that was the initial cause of the phobia. Or it could have been from a parent or sibling or family member that had an extreme reaction when they saw blood, and then the child learned to have that fear. Now, the fear of blood, hemophobia, is a particularly dangerous and tricky fear in the sense that the fear itself can lead to avoidance, which is true for most phobias. The problem, though, is that if someone has a fear of blood and it is their own blood, they might avoid going to places like hospitals, for example, because there is a perception that in a place like a hospital or a surgery, they could witness more blood, which is then the key thing they're looking to avoid. So it can really be a trickle effect, a ripple effect that causes very severe consequences. Other reasons include that if someone has a fear of blood, they tend to also have a fear of other related medical fears, such as a fear of injections, a fear of hospitals, for example, or maybe a fear of the dentist, all of which are places that you would expect an association with blood. Now, this can have minor symptoms, such as people avoiding situations that might include blood, such as boxing matches, for example, or even lower level kind of things like horror films. They might avoid things like that because there is a perception that they might see blood and feel uncomfortable. And that gets more and more extreme based on the severity. So it might be, for example, that if someone sees let's say someone with a bleeding nose, instead of offering help, they're going to seek avoidance very, very quickly. And I've had a couple of clients where their fear of blood wasn't so much an issue for them in terms of their own medical needs, but of their children. And this also applies to people that have a fear of vomiting. The issue comes if their children, and children tend to get in more scrapes and falls, for example, and are more likely to bleed just because they have a more playful sense of adventure. So if you are a parent and you have a fear of blood, that can really cause problems helping your child if they are in some kind of an accident or issue. Overall, the fear of blood is a relatively easy fear to cure and to eliminate because it's very visual in nature. Okay? In order for someone to experience a fear of blood, they have to have two things. One is a very graphic internal representation. Their mind's eye is very accurate. They can visualize things very easily, but also they associate certain things. So someone with a fear of blood sometimes has an association of germs or infection associated to blood. There was one client that I had that it wasn't so much a fear of blood, but it was a fear of being infected by AIDS. So for her fear of blood was based on her fear that blood is a carrier of the HIV virus, and for her that was her key fear. And many people with a fear of blood, it's actually the fear of infection or the fear of its associations that causes such a strong reaction. Now, the good news is that this fear can be eliminated relatively quickly. People that choose to work with me find out that actually one session is normally enough because this is known mainly as a simple phobia, and in some contexts can be a situational phobia if there is high levels of evaluation about the perceived threat. The key thing is that it can be eliminated in just a session or two. So people sometimes work with me one-on-one in my practice in Harley Street to eliminate these phobias. And for international clients that aren't based in the UK, they tend to work with me via some kind of video service, such as, let's say, FaceTime or Skype, for example. So using a broadcast quality microphone and good quality cameras, it's almost like I'm there with them to actually work one-on-one with them to help them eliminate their fear. The other way that I do it is that I've actually created a 7-day phobia elimination course, which has a combination of videos and audio downloads that cover all the fundamental causes of why someone would have a phobia, and then they can work through their phobia at their own pace. I've actually created a 1-hour video on what phobias are, why we have our phobias, and how to eliminate phobias. And that video I normally price at £30, and that's possible to buy on my website for £30 or $40 US. But if you were to go to the website phobiaguru.com and go to the page, Fear of Blood, Hemophobia, you'll actually be able to just put your name and email and get that video absolutely free of charge. So that's a free video on why you have phobias and how to eliminate the phobias very quickly. I hope this video, this short video, has been useful for you. The key thing I want you to take away from this video is that if you have a fear of blood, it's better to eliminate this fear, because if something was to happen, let's say an accident or some kind of medical emergency, that fear of blood could be the key cause of you not seeking help quickly enough, either for you or a member of your family. And that's why it's so important that you actually eliminate this fear now before one of those situations happen. I really hope this video has been useful, and I look forward to communicating with you in more depth if you pursue more information on me and what I do. Thanks for your time.